All right, yeah, it's it's always nice to be leading in points. I guess at this time of year, you want to be as far ahead as 10th as you can be, and then as we all know, it gets ranked by wins in the chase. So we'd really like to be picking up a few more wins, but certainly happy where we are in the points and most of our finishes. I feel like there's a few races we've had fast enough cars to win and couldn't finish the races off for whatever reason. So hopefully we get a few more wins and or a couple more wins at least, and stay where we are in the points and get into the chase. So as far as the track and the track's continually changing, obviously with the more cars that are running on it. So it's really nice. It's really fast. Hopefully they'll get a second groove kind of rubbered in there a little bit, and looking forward to getting back at it today and seeing what it's like today.
Thank you, Matt. Monty has a question, and then I think Jim, and then Claire, and then
Monty,
we'll work our way around. Go ahead.
Monty Dutton, Gaston is it. Matt, in this little rash of repaved tracks we're going to, it sort of seems like maybe just because of last week and because of everyone getting excited about higher speeds, it seems like that the reputation of repavement is getting changed a little bit. All of a sudden, repavement is cool. All of a sudden, and I mean, is it anything really changed? Is there new progress in the art of repaving? Are they doing it in a way where it's not as tough on the racing, or is this just the fact that we had a really good Pocono race and everybody's just overreacting?
Well, I think once they're repaved, it's probably not real popular for us to say you don't like the repavement. Is maybe some of it, but I will say that Pocono for sure is. I was never a big fan of Pocono. It was so rough and it was one groove and hard to pass. And I thought they did just a spectacular job paving it. I thought the racing ended up being pretty good. It felt like a whole new racetrack and facility we were going to, at least from being in a race car. So I thought they did a spectacular job there. It was way better than we thought. I think if most people had their wish, especially tracks like this that you could run 4 different grooves in the corner, or sometimes up to 5 different grooves in the corner you could choose, you probably would not repave it. But it's a necessary evil, and it's something you have to get done. And eventually it'll turn back into a track something like what it was, maybe. But I think that you'll get more grooves. The track is nice. It's fun to go out there. It's kind of funny testing. It's almost like a contest with your buddies. Everybody goes out and tries to bust off a lap faster than the next guy, and it's different than most weekends. Most weekends you go out there, and at least me in practice, I don't really care where you are on the board necessarily. You get the car to drive like you want it to drive, and you get to feel how you want it to feel, and then get ready for the race, and then go try to bust a lap in qualifying trim. So it's just it's different. It's kind of fun to go out there and go that fast and see how much grip there is in the track. They've done a nice job at repaving these tracks that that's been necessary to repave them. So I think most people probably like it, but I think we're all kind of curious and anxious to see what the race will be like.
Let's go to Jim Utter, right there in front of you, and then to Claire, and then to Bob.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. In nationwide practice this morning, there was some talk about possibly doing some 2-car tandems, and Elliott Sadler and Austin Dillon mentioned that as a possibility, probably more on the straightaways. Do you see that as anything that might be used in the Cup side?
If it is, I hope I'm not part of it. So, for as fast as we're going on the straightaway, we're still slowing down significantly for the corner. We're probably, I don't know, I guess you guys probably have access to the speeds now. We're probably still 30 miles an hour slower in the middle of the corner than we are in a straightaway, so certainly that doesn't lend itself to a restrictor plate type 2-car tandem drafting. Now, when you get a run on somebody, you've always been able to push each other down a straightaway here or something like that and make yourselves go faster, but I'm not sure that that's going to be as common as it used to. It depends what grooves there are. I think it used to happen more because there'd be one guy, on the bottom of the track, and that was whatever it was, 100 feet away from the guy in the top. And the guy in the top has such, the guy in the bottom goes through the corner faster, and this guy goes on a straightaway faster, and they kind of meet off the corner, and they would kind of draft down a straightaway. So I don't think with the Cup cars you're going to have much of that.
Let's go to Claire, and then to Bob, and then to Jim Noble.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. What about your philosophy on speed? We've been talking about how fast is fast, or how it contributes to the race itself. Sometimes the fastest races aren't always the best when the cars are going fast. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it depends a lot on the racetrack. I mean, whenever I think about speed, I just want my car to have more than everybody else's. I don't care what our top speed is at that track. You just want to be faster than everybody else. But A lot of that depends on the track. This has always been one of the faster tracks we go to, and in my opinion, it's always been one of the better races that we've gone to because the groove gets really wide, the track is wide, and you could run all over it. So, when you're at a place like Indy, for instance, that has one groove, it's really hard to pass with those speeds. But if you go somewhere like here that's always had multiple grooves and you're going the same speed, it's not that big a deal because you could look around and find clean air for your car all over the place.
Let's go to Bob Pockris, Jim Noble, and then to Brian in the middle.
Oh, Bob.
Just shout it.
It's working now.
Is it working? Okay. Bob Pockris, Sporting News. You're known for your consistency and the fact that you're running consistently well and leading the points. Does that give you any kind of comfort level or feeling that you'll be a contender come the chase time, or do you look at what Tony Stewart did last year and realize that it doesn't really make too much of a difference come September?
Well, I guess a little bit of both. I mean, you kind of early in the year, I think you glance every once. I don't pay a close attention to the points, but every once in a while you glance to see how far you're ahead of 10th, if you're lucky enough to be ahead of 10th. And that starts to maybe give you, as the weeks go on and you stay up there, hopefully it gives you a little more confidence about making the chase. But certainly once you'd like to gather some wins for some bonus points, and certainly once the chase rolls around, if you're in it, you realize that those 10 weeks is kind of another season, and in those 10 weeks it's extremely important to be consistent, not have that, not make a big mistake, not lose a bunch of points, but it's also important to run up front, be a contender to win, and probably have to collect a win or two or three in the chase to have a shot at a championship.
Let's go to Jim and then to Brian.
Jim Noble, ESPN. Guys don't seem to be that concerned with the speeds. I mean, for younger guys who say, we got safer barriers, we have Hans devices, I'm fine going well over 200 miles an hour. Is that a good thing for a race car driver to feel that way?
Well, I mean, I've never really sat around and thought about wrecking, or any of that kind of stuff, or getting hurt, or I've never really spent any time thinking about that besides getting your safety equipment as good as you can. So I'm not sure. I don't know what would happen if a car spins out of that end of the front stretch and you're doing 217. I don't know whether it'll stay on the ground or whether it won't. I don't know any of that, and I don't really spend any time thinking about that. I think NASCAR's on that pretty good. I'm not sure that it makes a lot of difference if you're doing 205 or whatever we normally do here, or 215. I'm not sure where that magic number is. So it doesn't. When you're out there driving, it doesn't. You can feel you're going faster, but if you didn't have the telemetry in the car yesterday, staring all the time at the speedometer in there, you're going faster, but it doesn't feel like it's out of control or anything like that.
Let's go to Brian.
Brian Nelson, Motor Racing Network. Matt, with Roush Fenway's 25th anniversary season in mid-form right now, and certainly your team has been very successful here at MIS over the years as well. What is it that stands out to you about Jack Roush that makes him such an effective owner and so successful?
Well, probably the biggest thing, especially when I first came over there, and it's still like that, is there's just, if there's anything ever reasonable that we needed for the cars, and sometimes it wasn't even very reasonable, he'd always give it to us. So, he's always done whatever he's needed to do and given us whatever we've needed to do to be competitive and go out and try to win races and try to race for championships. So I think when you go drive for somebody, that's what you look for. You don't necessarily look at all the rest of the stuff. You look at, how you think you can perform on the track and how they build their cars, how they do all that stuff. And certainly when I first went over there and got to start hanging out with Mark and he got me hooked up with Roush Racing, certainly you could tell that, Jack was 100% about the on-track product.
Right across the way here to Patrick. Raise your hand there, Patrick.
Patrick Levy, NASCAR Productions. Matt, a few weeks out, we'll be in Kentucky. You had a solid top 10 there last season. Could you talk about racing at Kentucky, and do you expect anything going into there in a few weeks?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back there. I was last year. I was probably one of the few drivers that that has never raced there before, never ran a nationwide series race, or we didn't test much there. Even when the testing rules were different, we used to be able to go there. So I was one of the few guys that weren't there very much at all. So I learned a lot. I felt like through the race last year about the racetrack. There's some really unique characteristics about it, different than some other mile-and-a-half tracks, the way you drive it. So I felt like we learned a lot. We were fairly competitive at times. So I'm looking forward to getting back there, being the second time there, and seeing if we can, improve our performance and our finish.
Other questions for Matt? Bob? Do you have one?
Bob Pockris, Sporting News. A lot of times when guys aren't running well, they always say that they're running better than their finishes are. Obviously, you're leading the points. Do you feel like a guy who's leading the points and feel like a guy who's in contention to win every week?
Well, I mean, I don't. There's some weeks you feel like maybe you finished a little better than you ran, but there's actually been a few weeks here this year I feel like it's kind of been the opposite. Last week, I thought under the right circumstances, we had a car that could have won the race. We got up there and we led with, I don't know, I don't remember how many laps we go, 50 laps ago or something, and felt like if we could figure out how to keep our car in front, we'd have to have a chance to win the race. And then through, our green flag stop and then me sliding a little deep in the stall and not getting fuel as quick as everybody, then restarting on the outside and being hung in the middle, 3 wide, lost some spots. All that stuff happened and took us out of contention. I couldn't pass them guys back to get in there. So, I mean, I feel like we have cars that are that have been capable to win, several times this year and haven't been able to get that done. Talladega, I thought we had a dominant car there, and on that last restart, Greg and I somehow got separated and didn't get a shot at that. So, I mean, I feel really good about my car performance, about my team's performance or strategy, pit stops and all that stuff. I just feel like there's a few races there that we kind of not necessarily let get away, but we had the opportunity to win and didn't win them. So hopefully we'll keep getting those opportunities and I'll be able to figure out how to finish them off, at the end of the races.
Let's go back to Patrick right there.
Patrick Levy, NASCAR Productions. Matt, next week we go to Sonoma, first road course race of the season. Do you approach that any differently, or is it just another track for you?
No, I mean, it's a lot different. I mean, you go there, I think, with the same, you think about different things because the track's a lot different. Obviously, your driving style and approach and the things you do in the car are a lot different, and setups and all that stuff. But you go with the same goals. You go there and work as hard as you can through practice to try to get your car to drive as good as it can. And then certainly there's a lot more opportunities for mistakes from a driver's standpoint at that track. So that's probably been my worst track probably since I've started racing in the Cup Series. So it's always a challenge, one that I sort of look forward to trying to go there and get better, and I sort of look forward to leaving on Sunday night too. So hopefully we can go and get a good result and get our cars running a little bit better there. All our cars are really fast at Watkins Glen last year, and hopefully we'll get them all a little better at Sears Point this year.